Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. My name is Daniel Livingstone and today we're going to be working on some documentary photography inside of Luminar NEO. I know it's been a while since we saw Luminar. My most recent stream I think I was playing with Aperty, so I've been really on a Skylum kick lately. But all that was because I was actually getting flown out to WPPI this past week for Luminar to work their booth, or for Skylum Software to work their booth promoting Luminar NEO, which is this program. I know it's been a while since I talked about this on stream, but I have been so creatively re-energized over the week, being at WPPI, talking to all the attendees, promoting some of Luminar NEO's cool features that I've been using, really just made me dive really deep back into the program and explore the new limits of the software. So I used to use it for some of their quick, easy, simple AI tools, mostly slider-based stuff, but having been going into the software and just doing a bunch of demos really made me realize how convenient Luminar really is for getting quick, creative edits out that are still really inspiring, but don't take me like hours and hours and hours of like color grading or retouching in Lightroom and Photoshop. So we're going to be going over a little bit of that. You'll notice a couple updates to the stream layout. There's no OBS window flying around, which is pretty cool because I'm just going to be in Neo for this stream, so I get to just have that window up. And you'll notice a new face cam placement. That's just because it's formatting better with this program than it would with Lightroom or Photoshop. I don't want to cover up anything. I can show you here inside of my edits panel. And I will be doing a couple like edit breakdowns of the images that I'm working on, but like if I go in here, you can see my history. I don't want this entirely covered up by my face. So that's just more convenient for this software. You'll also notice a QR code on the bottom left of the screen. That is because I have a bunch of affiliate links and I've been trying to promote this stuff more. So if you get any value out of these streams or any of the content that I've been making or will make, please consider checking out that QR code and just supporting me by using any of those affiliate links, buying something useful for yourself, whether it's AI editing tools, AI culling tools, whether it's photo gear from Cheetah Stand, whether it's whatever you guys need, hardware, software. I have a couple different solutions that would benefit me, so check those out if you think that makes sense for you. In the meantime, I am going to do two things. One, I'm going to make my face camera a little bit brighter, because I feel like I'm getting really dark right now, especially against this dark backdrop. And second is I'm going to dive into a couple of my edits. And then the third thing I'm going to do is check my audio levels. Yep. Alright, we're good. We're good. I got the chat open here, so if anyone has any questions, feel free to say hello. Let me know if you're lurking around or if you have any questions. The first image from this shoot that I made a select is this one, and a little bit of backstory. The subject of this project, which I'm titling Domain, focuses on people's home gyms. This is the first shoot in this series, so I'm going to be focusing on people's relationships with their spaces in the fitness world. So if you have a home gym, hit me up. I'm curious to explore what that looks like, and I'm going for a wide range of things. This is obviously a very, very nice home gym. This is a very special and unique case, but I'm looking for the whole gamut. So anything gritty, anything fancy. If you're working out of your garage, if you're working out of a hotel, if you're working out of a, you know, your luxury condos, fitness center, all of it is fine. But what's unique about this story here is that Brett built this home gym as an add-on to his house, and a big part of the story is that he's doing it for his daughters, who he wants to raise with a very healthy relationship in fitness, with fitness. So immediately I was just going for that storyline, for that connection, and I got this amazing shot of him getting ready, about to start a workout. Inside the gym, you see the dark interior, you see him, you see details, but they're a little subdued. But the real focus goes outside into the yard, where you are reminded that these daughters are a really important part of this. Like, this little toy house is just a great visual indicator that there is a relationship here, not just for him, but for another character in this story, or characters, plural. So some of these I've already edited. I did a lot of labbing and experimenting with these over like the past week, just running through all these different versions, trying to get it right. I think I finally dialed in some looks that I'm happy with. So I'm going to break down some of these edits. This is a just quick before and after slider of this project. So you can see we did a lot to it, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how we got there. So the first one is our development tab. So this was the original raw photo, and this is just with a couple of develop settings. So I boosted some exposure, I darkened some shadows, I just wanted to punch up that contrast, took the blacks down a considerable amount. Not a lot going on in the curves, but in color, I really warmed up the temperature. I wanted that like warm, nostalgic, kind of filmic look. I brought down the vibrance because I don't think this needs to be a super saturated image. I kind of want the shot to look timeless, so I don't want it to pump it full color. I want it to look pretty neutral, a little aged even. Now for optics, I had to do a lot of lens distortion correction, and that's just because I was shooting with a 35mm prime lens, and I had to do that manually because Luminar doesn't have a ton of like baked in lens profiles, so it is kind of up to me to fix that barrel distortion myself. But I think we got it to a really good point. And then a little bit of transformation. Oh, actually I didn't have to do transformation on this one because the barrel distortion and the way that I cropped it kind of fixed those things up. And is this the full image? Did I do any sort of cropping to this? No, this is the full image straight out of like full sensor size, which is good. From there, my first step was to go straight to this Enhance AI tool and just bring up the accent slider, which I can't even describe what it does from a technical perspective. I just know that it makes your photo better in a slider. The more detailed answer is that it does a lot of dynamic range preservation. It does contextual contrast adjustments. So, excuse me. I think it's looking for the subject and then boosting contrast in the subject. So I could tell that it was working a little harder on this human figure here than it would the rest of the image, as well as like bringing back a little bit of vibrance in contextually necessary areas. After that, I jumped to some toning, so I pumped a little bit of warmth into those shadows. You can see I'm throwing some like orange saturation in here, and then a little bit of cool tone in the highlights just to bring back some of that like sky detail. After that, we throw the mood in. I got this Long Beach LUT, which is kind of carrying a lot of the toning and the color scheme of this image. It's throwing some really warm purple tones into the shadows, throwing some of those cool cyans into the highlights, and then overall giving this a much flatter profile, which I think is good for like blending together the indoor and the outdoor scenes. We threw a vignette on it because I do want that focus to shift much more towards this house, since that is the focal point. I did a development on the overall image. I just brought back some of that highlight detail, some of the contrast, although I could kind of pump some of that highlight back in from here. I just want to, like I said, like flatten it out, bring the indoor and the outdoor a little closer in exposure. And then the last thing I did was add a little vignette, or not a vignette, but like a linear gradient to the bottom of the image, just because the room shouldn't be as bright as the outdoor, so I did want to make the interior and exterior a little more separate, but in a realistic, like true to eye way. You're not going to get the same exposure in both spots. Now what I could do, and I might do this later in Photoshop, is mask out this house individually and make it a little darker because I think it does stand out a little bit too much, but that's okay. The next select I have is this shot that I got this cool close-up. I think this doubles as a... I wanted to really experiment with foreground and background, so bringing in the machine as a foreground element but still framing him up in there is kind of cool. This might look a little like textured and grainy on the stream, but that's just like the resolution issue, or like the rendering issue with the software being scaled down for 1080p stream. But you can see the detail in there in this close-up. I mean, even with this, like, it's not actually this grainy, but even this little grain feels kind of cool to me. So I might do some creative crops with this, but cropping is always my last step in the editing process now. So I'm gonna do all my processing to this, color, contrast, exposure, effects, all that stuff. I'll have it all applied to the entire image so that I have as many options as possible with cropping after the fact. If I want to repurpose it for a vertical format for Instagram, if I want to use it horizontally for a YouTube thumbnail, I have that option, and it's going to look the same no matter where I'm putting it. So that is kind of my goal with that. And then I think I copied a lot of the same adjustments from this over to this, and then just, you know, did a rebalancing of exposure and stuff. But the before and after, you can see here, it's a pretty clean raw image, and then we just threw a lot of that like yellow matting, grain, just trying to make it look kind of filmy. And I think like the slightly out of focus nature of it does add to that film profile. One thing I did in this image, because I wasn't getting it as warm as I wanted, I didn't necessarily want to warm it up through just a raw white balance fix, just pumping the temperature of the image. So Luminar has a bunch of landscape tools that are pretty useful, and one of them is within the landscape group is called landscape. This is the tool, and it has a dehaze slider, it has a golden hour slider, it has a foliage enhancer. These are meant for landscape images with like trees, with skies, with sunsets, things like that, things with like natural haze. But this golden hour slider I find just warms your photo up in such a uniquely cool and interesting way. So I always use the golden hour slider if I want just that extra touch of warmth in an image without completely destroying the white balance. So I actually used a landscape tool in this portrait. I thought it was kind of a creative solution to this problem. This image I'm not final on yet, but I am like copying these images over, and the first edit I did from this indoor-outdoor shot, I did make as a preset, and I titled it Filmic Warm, and then made adjustments to it, so I think it was a little like blown out, so I brought some of the exposure back, I brought that landscape warmth in, I did some matting on it, so just like flattening out those highlights, flattening out those shadows. I don't need that crazy contrast image like this. I want to feel, since it's about home gyms, I kind of want to make it feel a little amateurish and a little like homemade. So if you're thinking like disposable camera type edit, like family vacation camcorder style processing, that is what I'm going for in this. I want it to feel real, authentic. I want it to feel documentary. This was a shot I got of his hex bar, his trap bar at home, and this one I really needed to lean in. This image was like way too clean out of camera. Like raw format, it was so neutral and sterile. It felt like a snapshot. It felt so bad. And it's just a plain, it's such a simple image of just a thing on a floor, and it's put by the wall. So I put a ton of processing on this to kind of like degrade it to feel homemade. I think the biggest thing that's carrying this, so yeah, you'll see a lot of the same like enhance, we did the toning, we did the mood, which I don't even know what LUT's on this, but it is adding a ton of purple. We threw some vignette on it, we got some post-processing developed, just some extra like highlight recovery, more toning on top of that, and this one is interesting because it adds orange to the shadows and a little bit of green to the highlights, which would mix with the whites and the other existing tones in the image kind of makes like a bluish tint, so it feels kind of like orange, cyan, and purple all at the same time. Then we mat it out to flatten it. Then we throw some film grain on top to really make it feel homemade. And you can see here, even with the film grain on it, it feels very sharp, it feels very digital. My landscape warming on top of that, which I pumped like crazy because I wanted it to have that like incorrectly white balance, like an amateur would do this, like where they're not thinking about these things. And you know, those like family home videos where everything's like tungsten lit, super orange and yellowy. So I dumped a ton of yellow in that from our golden hour slider. And then it still felt too sharp, too digital. I threw a glow tool on top of that. Soft focus mode, 36%. Just really blended out that, like, just killed that detail that I didn't need. Because I don't think the detail and the sharpness adds anything in this shot, since it's such a simple shot. So, yeah, processing that out with all these tools just to degrade it and degrade it and degrade it and make it feel amateurish, I feel like is what makes this a successful edit. I'm gonna go one step further. I'm gonna throw a develop tool on top, bring down some of the exposure, but then I'm gonna mask a linear gradient in, and I'm just gonna shape up the light a little bit, custom. Let's redo that linear gradient. Yeah, we don't need it to be so circular. I think this is good. I'm wondering if it needs to be just a tad darker to add that homemade element on it. Like if I did that, does that fix it? Does it make it darker? Yeah, I think this is fine. There's also an alternate edit of this. I mean, it's fine. I think this was made from another preset I have because I was just experimenting around. But I think this could use some more landscape on it though. That can definitely be warmed up a little bit. And then there's some toning in here with the highlights being like cool toned. We don't need that. I think that's better. Because I do want some form of consistency with it. This shot maybe isn't a 5-star image. I don't think it's that interesting. We can go through and do a little bit more like critical selection here. Now this shot I love. This is definitely a winner in my book. I'm actually gonna make a virtual copy because I like this edit so much, but I'm wondering what the first one looks like if we do this warm filmic look on it to get them looking super consistent. So I'm gonna run that preset on here to match them up. It feels cool toned, so I want to pump more golden hour in here. And is that doing much for us? Doesn't feel like it is. I might be having a processing issue with Luminar because it's not updating any of my edits. I mean, it did apply the preset. I just need it to be a little less cyan. So landscape. Oh, so golden hour just isn't working at all on this. It's not doing anything. Because I don't think it's detecting a landscape, maybe? So that might be a limitation of that workflow. Which is okay. I can do this in toning for sure. I can just play with the highlights, move some sliders over to a warmer tone. That feels good to me. The vignetting, I'm gonna move the subject over, play with some advanced settings. And then I'm not gonna crop it. That's the thing. I have to hold back from cropping it. I want to see it in its final version. I'm so excited to like finalize it, but I have to have a little bit of restraint. So between these three, I like this one the most. This one has the most effort. So I'll drop this one and that one. This shot's also interesting, but I don't know if it's a finalist. I really only need 5 or 6 selects at the end of the day for the promo that I'm putting together with this shoot. So I wonder if landscape's gonna work on this. Oh yeah, it does. Weird that it just wasn't cooperating with this image. I think it'll work really well with this one though. Between these two, head down looking over feels better. It's more like engaged. We also have this shot, which is cool. This is more something that I would probably deliver to Brett, just as a thank you. Although it also could be a good black and white, and we do want to also kind of play with black and whites in this. I think we need to make this a little brighter. So if we're doing black and white, we can definitely punch some contrast in these kinds of shots. You know what tool will be great for this? Where are we at? There it is. Face light. Love this thing. I just see how his face is a little darker than everything else around him. I just want to pump a little extra exposure in that face. There's a slider just for that. Now this is a little more balanced. I don't have to do any masking. So that's one of the really convenient things about Luminar that I really like. What's the timestamp? Where are we at? Alright, what else we got going on here? This one has potential in black and white, but also color. It's the matter of whether black and white is going to be able to show this motion blur well. See, color does a better job because the color of the arm is distinctly separate, but like, oh, black and white. We can do color, but I need to figure out contrast, and I think that just might be a highlight issue. I think we just need to bring back a lot more contrast here. And also fix distortion. Feels aligned to me. I don't mind doing a little bit of transformation here. I think this is just a crop. I think I just have to crop it. And rotate it here. And then fix some of the transformation issues. And some of these settings might be covered up. I'm in the Develop Raw tab, if you can't see underneath the face camera. And at the bottom is a transform tool. Not vertical. Horizontal. Just playing with that delicate balance. Yeah, I think that's good. Alright, this should feel much more aligned. Yeah. And then I'd maybe crop in further in post. The vignette's hitting a little hard though here. I don't think we need to be that over the top with it. And also the film grain is a bit much. Because we don't need, if it's blurry, the film grain is going to just make it really hard to see. Or like we need a much smaller film grain. Because we do need that texture here. Maybe the glow trick will work on this as well. Just a bit of extra soft focus on this. Don't want all that extra brightness. I don't want the extra contrast either. I'm going to reset that to 0. I just want the softness factor. Very small amount of softness. Wow, we really have to take this back. Like, really use the very bare minimum of this. See, the problem with the contrast is it's affecting the contrast too. Orton effect? That seems much more reasonable. Where only like the highlights are glowing. Yeah, it's just not displaying a full res version of what it's gonna export. I have this shot, which definitely feels like a black and white off the bat, no questions asked. If we did like a partially... Alright, so if we do a preset and then we adjust the slider, black and white is an all or nothing thing. So black and white at 1 is going to be the same level of black and white as 100. It's just all the other effects that are changed. We're going to do that. And dial back the film grain once again. Relatively low amount. And we're going to do cropping. No, sorry. Cropping comes last. We gotta stick to our guns. Alright, we have these 3 shots, which all make for great black and whites. I think this is the best version of that, though, because you get the hands in the shot as well. I'm gonna write a note about that, actually. Just writing some feedback notes. So yeah, this is a do that mention? Sorry, I'm just doing some social media admin stuff right now. Alright, yeah, this is a winner. I don't even have to do anything to this. This is just so good off the bat. This is gonna get cropped. I probably have to remove that from the shot. Maybe we can like do a canted angle thing where it's like kind of off center. Let me get back to that chat. Cool. That's fun. Oh, let me do my, oh, I'm not even on the right account with this mobile thing. That's fine. I can do, I'll do my links in the chat. There you go. There's the links. Alright, so moving forward. Okay, we have this shot, so I should be able to just copy and translate the images to one of these shots. This is a more, yeah, so this shot head on it might actually kind of boring in comparison to these. I think this was the point where I realized I was getting too close to the subject, and I lost sight of like what the shoot was about. I needed to make it about the space and the relationship of the subject with the space. So I had to back up and include more elements. So something like this is much more effective for the messaging that I'm going for. So between this shot, and this shot, I like the hand on the hip. The hand up, maybe not as strong, so I can drop that. And then facing, maybe something I would give to Brett. He would have more use for it. I'm gonna copy and paste the setting from this first image to this second image. It's not a bad shot. Actually, seeing his face is pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, maybe seeing him isn't such a bad thing after all. I can drop this image out of the rotation though. Oh, we also have the shot of the duck, which I love. And then the like blurry house in the background I think adds something really nice to this too. If I can find a way to make that duck pop out in the black and white tool. I need even more. And maybe that's just done with yeah, just make it brighter with the saturation. But I also need to fix the optics. So we're gonna do a little bit of lens distortion correction. That might need to be fixed in a different program, honestly. That's fine for now. But let's see if we boosted that duck up. Oh, we did. Okay, good. And honestly, we got a vignette in here, right? That's like... Oh, we don't. We don't need a vignette. I think the attention hits here. Maybe we need to turn it down outside. Well, I guess the house doesn't read as the house in black and white either. But the duck is cool. Mixed feelings on this shot. I'll have to decide that later. Let's see. Once again, I'm a little too close. Needed to back up. That's just an interesting shot in general. I think it creates interest because of the unique body positioning. We could probably go in a slightly different direction with this. I did create this other like purplish toned shot. What is the warm one? The warm one's cool. The purple one's literally cool toned. Let's see if we can fix some of these shadow issues going on in here. I'm gonna lift those shadows. And then face light. I'll see if it detects him. It does. That's pretty cool. So just getting that extra exposure in there is neat. There's a little bit of haloing, which I suspect might be coming from... We don't even have an enhance AI. What is this coming from? It would be nice to turn this down a little bit. Is it the shadow lift I did? What if we brought the highlights down, brought the exposure back up, lifted the shadows just a tad? So I think what it's doing is like contextually lifting shadows. That's where some of our haloing is coming from. If I do a straight black lift, I think that works a lot more subtly. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And there's still all this distortion. I need to fix that. Is this an effective image where it's at now, or does it need something extra? It has matting on it already. Maybe a little bit of glow. Just a little bit. I feel compelled to add something to us. It might be the wrong answer too. We can always go back and change that. That's too much. Way to just cook the hell out of our image. Low softness. Do not affect the contrast, please. Glow. Orton effect. Orton effect soft. I can get behind soft. Yeah, I can get behind that. It kind of just disperses the existing light in our image, so that I'm cool with. And I can copy and paste this to the next image, although I don't think anything super interesting is happening in this shot. So maybe we just drop that one from our selection. This one's a blurry, like a motion blur shot. If I'm doing the exercise, you kind of lose the head. I think, yeah, this is not a shot that's meant to be in motion, or like blurred in motion. So I think we just paste it to this. This one has a little bit of too much matting on it, so I'm gonna recover some of that. Yeah. Now these are interesting because we're working with a lot of stuff here. We have an indoor part, we have an outdoor part. We have a ton of barrel distortion again. Gosh, I did not realize how much distortion the 35 prime RF has. I really want that lens too. I'm sure other, like, maybe a Lightroom or a Capture One like profile correction would solve this. Luminar just doesn't have those lens profiles built in, which is okay. Their strengths are in AI-based creative tools. It's not necessarily meant to be the most technical program. You know, they're not trying to be a Photoshop. They're not trying to be a Lightroom. And that's why it's compatible. If you're not familiar, Luminar is compatible as a plugin in Lightroom and Photoshop. So if you want to keep your existing Adobe workflow, you can always run that and then run this as a plugin through those programs to get access to all these neat, creative, efficient tools. I have a feeling we're gonna need to really rely on our presets for this. And in fact, I think the edits we just did for this will transfer well here. It's just such a different shot. It's different. It's different, and I don't know exactly what to do about it, but I do like these shots. It's just gonna take some doing to figure out what I need to do to get there. The highlights are down, the exposure needs to come down for sure. And then in turn, this indoor part needs to come up. So I think I can fix that through a vignette if I choose the subject, and then really, I'm gonna jack this up just so I can see everything very clearly. Change the size, change the shape to about where the door is. Change the feather, and then bring up that inner light to focus on our subject. And then I can bring this amount back. No, this needs to be like manually done. I need a develop tool, I need a mask, I need a radial gradient. I need to make it shaped to about this interior. And then I need to boost some exposure in here. And maybe that's just shadows. No, it's overall exposure. And then contrast up for the interior as well. want to keep this very tight within the bounds of the interior too. I don't like that because you can see it. Luminosity? Would that work? It's worth trying. Alright, so let's take out everything super bright. Oh my god, can we hit just the inside? Wait, let's get like a really good edge on that. Yes. Oh, I can't. Oh. It's a little rough on the edges, but like, if I wanted to just brush erase stuff from that, that'd be really convenient. And then all this can go away too. And then add in this flooring. And you get this like hard edge, which kind of sucks. We're erasing, right? Yeah, if I want to just erase this edge ever so gently. I mean, that's better. That is significantly improved of a mask. Yeah, if I want to, I really do want to just take this up. Shadows isn't doing a whole lot here. We need, I want to keep the, maybe it is just the whites. Does that solve our problem? Kinda. I'm going to do another develop tool. I'm going to do a linear gradient to darken the exterior. I want to bring that focus indoors. And then I'm going to do another one. Another mask, another linear gradient mask. I'm going to come over here. Same thing, I'm just going to darken the exposure. And this is a shot that might need a considerate level of attention and care. Do another develop tool, radial gradient. I'll just bring down this hot spot on the floor. Clear that, new radial, drag that out, drag that down, bring it like there. That should be good, right? Yeah, that kind of solves that. This is a start. Might not be where we end up, but this is definitely somewhere from where we began. This to this does bring a lot more interest in there, so I like that. And then I can, I think my hard drive went to sleep, that's why it's like taking forever to respond. Which I don't know how it did because I'm actively working inside the hard drive. There we go. So I'm going to copy this, and who knows if the masks even line up in these shots, but I'm going to paste it to this. We just kind of have to hope. Alright, not awful. The masks are almost in alignment. Similar vibe, I'll do before and after. Bring all that focus inside. I think hands up this is the better shot for sure. Yeah. I'm gonna drop this one and be happy with our select. I think this is an integral shot for the project though. And then we have our vertical versions for Instagram. So like whatever, let's copy this and then paste it to this. And then our masks are all messed up, and that's fine. And we have this, which is actually not terrible. And then we have this, which is just fine. And then this one is the problem one. Oh, and then this is, what is this doing? What is this doing? It's a little too much. We'll just remove all the local stuff from this. Maybe a vignette solves this. Oh, we can make it a square. Now we're kind of talking. Huh. That's a start. That is a lot more shapely. It doesn't exactly match the doorway, but that's interesting. That is a clever workaround. I think this is something that probably needs to be like really touched up in Photoshop just because of how specific I want the selections to be. Which is okay. I'll just copy this to this for now. We'll start here, work our way past that. The blur, alright, this one too blurry, this one perfectly blurry, maybe? So in our presets, we just, I like black and white for the stuff that's in motion. It feels appropriate to me. Especially since he's against such a bright background, it really like separates him. This is pretty good to go. I'm gonna do a little bit of extra highlight recovery. Wait, it is weird that it's showing me my black and whites while I'm doing developments though. And it's weird that there's two of these as well. That might just be a little bit of a glitch. If I reload this shot, it's been fixed. There we go. Yeah, now I'm going to bring back some of these highlights. And now you get a lot more detail in here. That's pretty cool. I think I don't need all that highlight recovery, but like half of it. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is a vignette. I just love the vignette tool. I love vignettes on everything. It's just something I like. I'm going to move it up here kinda to cheat a darkness on like mostly the bottom without having to do like a linear gradient. gonna feather it super hard too. So I can just delicately like circle this. Yeah, I love that. That's good. Yeah, we need to get some selects down. So I'm gonna go to the catalog feature and I'm gonna look at these a little more closely. We have this. We have this. The legs crossing is kind of interesting. And we're losing a little bit of the machine. These are identical, except this one has better framing, so I can drop this one. I don't know why it keeps taking me back to the beginning of the gallery. Now I'm looking at body position. This one's good. Hands look good, but the arm tucked behind doesn't look as good, and then the legs crossing and like going in opposite directions I'm not super into. So between these two, head down, head up, leg a little more down, leg a little more up. Oh, it's tough. It's a tough call. I think they're very similar. I think this one's the winner. Head up gives me more shape. I do like head down because it makes him look a little more tired, but he doesn't look tired enough for it to be worth committing to. This one's good. Hands look good, but the arm tucked behind. So this one feels like Filmic Warm is just a one-stop shop. And then maybe we just pump up the golden hour factor a little bit. I'm definitely gonna need to do some warping. That is almost there. That's better. That's a lot better. Right? Yeah, we really fixed that bend. Alright, cool. And then we throw our filters on, and then it looks good. It does feel a tad dark. I need to maybe bring up the exposure a little more. Yeah, that's nice. I'm gonna take a wild guess, a vignette tool, but we're gonna use it kind of opposite this time. Oh, it's getting dark in here, man. So I'm going to do, because I'm locked out of all the other settings unless I do any amount of vignette. I'm gonna do one vignette, -1, the least amount of vignette you can do, barely noticeable in the image, just so I can use this inner light feature. And I'm gonna put the subject on him to put inner light on him. So I'm gonna boost his exposure. Now not that much, but like just a little bit. Yeah, just pump some extra brightness over where he's at. Bam, done, easy. And now I can copy this setting and then paste it on all these images. And that looks good. Oh, I actually already did it for the Instagram thumbnail. Where is it? I like the way it turned out. I went too far. Yeah, look better on this one. So I'll copy and paste that to this. And then maybe we just need a little, I like the glow that we were getting in the other images. I'll throw some glow on it, like the Orton effect. And that puts some highlights in places that I think add interest to it. It adds contrast without making it crunchy or sharp. Yeah, nice. And we could do some of that on this as well. We can remove this. And then these images, we'll just keep copy and pasting it over. Although we should make a... So him touching it is cool. He's too folded up in this version. So I do like him interacting with it, because that's what it's about, like interacting with space. So paste onto you. And we got these verticals. These are actually very similar. This one where the elbow sticks out a little farther is better, so I'm going to drop that one because I don't need duplicates. And then this shot, compared to this shot, I mean this one's just so much more interesting, but this one has, the isolation factor is kind of neat, the minimalism feels good. This is like top 2 favorite shots from this whole shoot. I just love the way this turned out. He's just reaching down, fixing his feet into the machine. Everything feels right. It's good. I don't think I need to do any more post-processing other than this. This feels fine to me. This is the PSD version of that. Yeah, it's cool. I'm gonna remove that because I'll do an export at the end. These honestly are nowhere near as interesting to me. That could be a shot for Brett. See, you know, just mid-motion is not working. That one isn't as strong as him, just like getting ready. I think like you can kind of like hear his thoughts almost about how he's focusing up for this movement. Yeah, I'll give this to Brett, which means I'm allowed to edit it differently. Let's just get creative with it. That's interesting. That's a different one. It's like the same thing with just more highlights. That's cool. That one's cooked. That is a nice edit. That feels clean. Let's see what presets they have built in. They have a tab for Filmatic that I think is kind of neat. Comfort mode is kind of a vibe, low-key. This one just feels really edgy, which is not a bad thing. I actually like it a lot. There's some, wait, oh yeah, with these blockbuster cinematic. There's gonna be some Origin Cyan, I'm assuming. Yeah, those are fun. Oh, I should favorite some of these. That's pretty cool. That's big screen. Which one did we like in here? We liked Eventide. And we liked... Yeah, those were sick. Blockbuster. Did we like anything in here? Cyberpunk is cool. Got our favorites. I got my presets. Cool. Some ones we can purchase on new marketplace arrivals. Let's go back to mine. I mean, the purple one's cool. I kind of want to stick with like 2 looks for this entire thing. The matting's neat. Okay, we can do some enhance AI for sure. You know I gotta throw a vignette in there. Feather it up. Throw some inner light on. Bring that size in. Make him the subject. Bam. Nice and purpley. A little too purpley if you're asking me. We can pull back the saturation on that a little bit. Keep it subtle, keep it subtle. Yeah, just a touch. I feel like I want more warmth in the highlights actually. Yeah, something like that. Well, now it just feels cooked. I feel like I'm experiencing, what's it called? Like, option paralysis or decision paralysis. Like, there's too many options, there's too many things I could do, and I'm having a hard time committing to something. Let's scrap this, do a raw restart. We'll just start with our develop tab, highlight recovery, shadow recovery, throw some contrast on. This looks good so far. Color, pump some vibrance in. And then we'll just go straight to mood. And we'll explore our LUT options. I usually do like this Long Beach LUT. Maybe something clean. This is nice. Orange and cyan, very subtly. It's got a little duck going on. Oh, I forgot to do the profile corrections when I was in the develop tool. Lens distortion. That one's tough. Honestly, the auto did a good job to start. Like 15, 14, I think that's where I'm gonna leave that. And then we'll rotate, crop it later. Got some edgy portraits with the light. I don't know if the wide makes sense in this. Kind of wanted to like compress the space as much as possible here. Yeah, I'm having second thoughts about this, but I need to move past it. Now, this is something I'm curious if I can do. Removing this. Well, actually, I don't want to remove it. Black and white is cool. I'll do one black and white what color variant. See, this one goes hard as a black and white. So there we go. And I'll just crop in from the right here. That's pretty tough. A little too much film grain on it though. Well, maybe not. I'm very excited to get a face light on this one though. You know I love that tool. Face AI, face light, pop a little bit of exposure in there. That's all I need. And then I can probably... Can I erase that in this version? Yes, I can. Alright, that looks good. This feels nice. Wait, did I get rid of my... No, film grain's still in there. I think it just rendered out really well. Okay, cool. So this is what the image is supposed to look like. Black and white or color, both will work on this, man. It's just... I feel like that's when you know you have a good shot, is when multiple overlays or effects or presets work on it. You know you just have a quality shot. The purple's dramatic and neat. I feel like I just gotta stick with this look. And then we can make a couple modifications. Like I do want to make it a little brighter. But I don't want to lose all my highlights. And it's really subtle highlight recovery. I like that about it. Let's see if that fixed our balancing. Alright. Last thing I want to add to this is that glow effect. We've been having good luck with it. Orton, pump the amount. Take off the contrast. Orton effect soft. I feel like it adds too much haze. It does smooth out the skin a lot, which is kind of nice. I gotta raise the subject point of this to fix that vignette. Yeah, it's better. Alright. I think we're in a... Man, the black and white is really cool on this, though. Oh, and then we have an HDR shot of the... I mean, honestly, all we need is just this on top of it, and then we're good to go, right? Yeah, it's so nice. Maybe just on the original develop tool, bringing down a little bit of the vibrance, like a little more on the vibrance, solves that problem. I could even go on top with a color tool. HSL sliders, go into our saturation of our magentas and bring that back a little bit, bring back the reds a little bit, not a ton. But like right there is good. This probably needs contrast, right? Like I'm not tripping. Yeah, it definitely does. Yeah, it's pretty cool. What a vibe switch up. This feels more real, feels more authentic. I mean, admittedly, this is a very, like, neutral, flat, HDR merge, like, bracketed, like, exposure, bracketed merge, so this is an extremely technical image, just in its essence, and we've had to do a bunch of work to make it feel authentic and real again. But that really kind of takes us where we need to go. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit in this, let's see where we're at. We don't need this extra. We can delete that. We also don't need this as a select anymore. So I think this is our gallery. This feels really contrasty, you know, in comparison. It feels really red. Maybe we go back and dial this in a little further. Red would come from here, would come from there. And then the mood, take that down a little bit. There we go. In this house, I'm just gonna do this now. So, I think we're pretty good with all these shots. Definitely these, not that. This for sure. That doesn't, well, yeah. Well, no. This. These two. That, not that, that, and that all get exported as Photoshop documents. This might wreck my computer momentarily. This also might take a moment, so let's strategize what needs to be done still. I might retouch one image, or we just keep this a Luminar exclusive stream. I think that's what I'm gonna do, because I have no idea what I need to retouch or what my approach is gonna be. So I think I'll just go through the gallery images at the end. But depending on how long this takes to process out, I might just need to call it there. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's switch back here. So I want to thank everyone for joining the stream. I know it was a little short today, but we actually got everything we wanted to get done pretty quickly. I didn't think it was gonna be as easy as it was. So thank you all for joining me today. If you thought that this software is pretty cool, check out the link in the chat or scan the QR code on the side of the screen to download your version of Luminar NEO. It's a really great AI-based post-processing software that has just a lot of really creative tools, wonderful presets. It just makes editing easy. For those of you who are looking for an Adobe alternatives, I think it's a great solution. For those of you who are committed to Adobe but want to take your work to the next level and experiment with some just fun new creative tools, use it as a plugin. You can do that too. It also has a one-time lifetime license purchase option as well as a subscription model. So if you don't want to pay for a subscription, you can just buy the software outright, have your copy. No one really doing that anymore. But that wraps me up for the day. Neo's just so much fun to use. I just have a blast using it, just exploring all these cool creative looks that I normally wouldn't do if I'm doing my Lightroom Photoshop workflow, since it's so technical. I don't usually deviate outside of that with like creative explorations of new ways to process things or new effects to throw on top of stuff. If I do, it takes a lot of extra effort in Photoshop. So that wraps up today. This feels weird because it's so short, but we're done. So I will see you guys in the next stream. If you're in Chicago, I'm doing a workshop on Saturday. Check out the link in my Instagram bio, which you can find through the QR code, or like my Instagram is here. So go here on Instagram. If you're in Chicago, come to my workshop on Saturday. Would love to meet you guys in person. And the next stream is, I don't know when my next shoot is. I need to put together some new creative photo shoots for myself, for some portfolio pieces. Right now I'm focusing on a lot of in-person stuff, so streaming might fall on the back burner a little bit, but I'm going to try to keep up with my regular schedule of like 2 a month. I think that's a good pace. So I'll probably see you guys in the next like week or two. With all that being said, my name is Daniel Livingstone. Thank you guys for joining me today. Be sure to do something creative today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.